Okay, so we start now. You are seeing this, right? So today's topic
Yes, sir.
we will be switch off your mics. Today's topic we will be discussing about the synchronous motor, or in other terms, it's also called as a alternator. Basically, an alternator is a synchronous generator. So every motor or every, for that matter, alternator, so they can act vice versa. What does vice versa means these both the machines, whether it be motor or any generator, these are both magnetic machines. Okay, so the laws of magnetism are applied to it, and we have electrical parts that carry current, and we have mechanical parts also. So here you see, if an alternator, if you want to see, so this is the basic cutout of an alternator, where you can see there are windings in the stator. There is the end bearing. This is the shield. This here, in an alternator, you can see there is an exciter inside the alternator. This is the shaft. So this was the cutout layout. These are the rotor poles. We'll see one more picture which will be more clear. See here. Okay. So what is basically an alternator, or what in any other terms, any machine, what is its function? Any machine as such, if you can see, machines, basically, if it's a motor or a generator, the only difference between a motor, what is the function of a motor? Motor's input is electrical power supply, its output is mechanical work, and generator's input is mechanical force, and output is what? Output is electrical power. So this alternator, that is the synchronous generator, this is the alternator which is employed to produce power. And with this, that's why there is an arrangement of a transformer over here. So with this production of the power with the help of the alternator only, alternator is producing power at the generating station, and from the generating station, once it is producing power, we are transforming it to a higher voltage. Why we are transforming it to a higher voltage? Once we transform it to a higher voltage, so the length of the wire that is required, and the cross section of the wire that is required to transfer it from one place to another place gets significantly reduced. And more so because the cross sectional area will get reduced, so your I square R loss will get reduced. Previously also we have studied in transformer only, I have told you, to reduce the eddy current loss, what we are doing, we are minimizing the surface area. When we are minimizing the surface area, so very minimum current will flow, very minimum current will flow through that area. Similarly here also we are doing like that, so that the losses in the this transmission line get reduced. So that is the reason you can see over here there is a transformer here, and this is the neutral point. So as you can see that it suggests means neutral always exists only for a star connection. In a delta connection, usually neutral is not there. So what is the reason? See, the reason for this is that a stator of a synchronous generator is identical to that of a three-phase induction motor. So the only difference between here is the type of rotor arrangement. See, the stator is almost similar, but the rotor, you can see in an induction motor, here the rotor is there. This is the complete rotor, shaft. I will show you one more time. And there's the exciter over the rotor. Okay, but in induction motor there is nothing. This exciter is not there, and this exciter consists of DC voltage. So we can see that your armature is not a singly fed machine. Means you have two power supplies. One is your AC power supply, another is your DC power supply. Okay, that are exciting the machine. Basically what happens is that uh, a stator of a synchronous generator is identical to that of a three-phase induction motor. Okay, it is composed of a cylindrical laminated core containing a set of slots that carry a three-phase winding. See here, cylindrical set of cores containing of this slots, and it is carrying this windings are carrying. This winding, if you see here, is always connected in star. Now, what is the reason? The winding is always connected, and the neutral point here is connected to ground. So A Y connection will be always preferred to a delta connection, because in a Y connection your line voltage would be always root 3 times the phase voltage. So basically the voltage per phase is only 1 by root 3 times, so that would mean around 57.7% or near to 58% of the voltage between the these lines. This means that the highest voltage between the line would be around 58%, and the stator core is only 58% of the line voltage. So what happens is that if the voltage gets reduced, so we can reduce the insulation, therefore the amount of insulation in the slots we can reduce, which in turn enables to increase the cross section of the conductors. So a larger conductor permits us to increase the current and the power of the machine. So what happens is that when a synchronous generator is under load, the voltage induced in each phase becomes distorted and the waveform is no longer sinusoidal. So for that purpose, what we do is that we have this with a Y connection. What happens is that waveform is not sinusoidal now, because waveform is not sinusoidal. So what happens is that it gets distorted, and this distortion is mainly due to the third harmonic. I told you one harmonic is frequency 50 hertz, third harmonic would be 150 hertz, thrice frequency. So and this distortion is mainly due to an undesired third harmonic voltage, whose frequency is three times that of fundamental frequency. So what happens is that with Y connection, line to neutral voltage harmony between the lines, because they can be effectively reduced. So this is one arrangement I will show you. So see, basically how it is. See, uh, I'll reduce this a little bit. Yeah. So this is my bearings in the end. Okay. So that this bearings, this pulley, uh, these rectifiers, these end covers, regulators, these form the part of the yoke. And so the main part is my rotor here and my stator here. So this rotor, if I insert inside the stator, so there is again an air gap between them, and I have this regulator and these rectifier over here. So this is the basic construction of an alternator. So what is the difference between an alternator? Why it is called as a synchronous machine? Have you see why an alternator or a generator is called a synchronous machine? The reason is that induction motor, its mechanical speed or the rotational speed of an induction motor is never equal to synchronous speed, because there is always a difference of slip between the rotating magnetic field and the magnetic field established in the stator. So the synchronous speed is greater than your rotational speed always. If it is equal, it will not rotate. But here in this case, what happens is that initially when you are giving supply to the stator, okay, you excite the rotor windings via brushless DC exciter, or in the earlier days they used to have this DC supply of 400 sorry, 400 volts, 200 to 400 volts, which used to excite it such that there was a relative motion between your rotor and stator, and initially the alternator just started like an induction motor. And whenever and then this excitation was given such that your rotor locks onto the stator and reaches the same speed. And once this rotor and stator lock to each other, this external supply was cut off by the use of devices like circuit breakers or another tripping devices. Isolators were used in the earlier era. Nowadays, they are using this rectifier arrangement over there. You can see, which are electronically programmed, or power electronics devices are there. So it is giving this DC supply to it, and whenever this rotor and stator reaches the synchronous speed, this is cut off, and it is functioning as a synchronous generator. So here also you can have this particular look of this. Here you can see this is the arrangement. So this picture is not clear. A little bit. I'll just increase. Yeah, please. Hello, Harish. I'm marking
I'm
your
sorry,
picture.
sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, yeah. It is, see, everything can be seen over here. So don't, and it's getting recorded also. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I didn't notice that mic, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, okay, no problem. So construction of the alternator you can see over here. So this is your construction of alternator. So now we'll move on to see the pictorial demonstration. We understood. Okay, this is the rotor. This is the stator. So basically, what happens is that on the rotor, on top of the rotor, on top of the rotor, we have an external. We implement an external DC supply, and we give that DC supply, and that DC supply what it does is that it magnetizes the rotor also. Okay, it magnetizes the rotor. Of course, to the stator we are giving the this supply of AC, and here we have given DC supply. So stator has some magnetic field, so we'll give DC supply, and to that extent we will give the same this speed and this speed. Initially what will happen, initially we'll give DC supply, it has some magnetic field. We give AC supply, what happens is that it starts like an induction motor. Okay, so but then we cut off when it reaches a significant speed, we cut off this DC supply, and what happens is that the rotor and the stator lock onto each other, and they operate at a synchronous speed. So here always in a synchronous motor, remember that your mechanical rotational speed would be always equal to ns would be equal to 120 f by p, and nr will also be equal to 120 f by p. That is why the name is synchronous motor or synchronous generator. That is because of the speed will remain same. So this is the main parts of the synchronous generator, wherein we learn that it is always started, the center winding is always connected in star. So why? Because in star your line voltage is root 3 times the phase voltage, and your insulation of the winding also get reduced. And for this reason we are having the star connection for the stator winding. Then we are taking from here to the transformer. Whenever the power is getting generated and transformer steps it up, we have this stuff, we have this brushless DC exciter. Here we have shown you, we have a diode bridge arrangement to control this DC voltage. Okay, we now these are the rotor poles, this is the rotor winding inside, and this is the end shield. And this arrangement, blue color arrangement, you can say in it, it is a yoke kind of an arrangement. You have a stator core, you have stator windings, you have end shield, and your end bar. So now you have also seen that again I'm just explaining you this. So you saw now one important aspect of it is that, so types of synchronous generators. So what are the types of synchronous generators? So synchronous generator types are mainly classified based upon the speed with which they operate. So if you I have a high speed synchronous generator, those are called as turbo alternators. If you have a low speed synchronous generators, those are called as hydro generators. So for example, the different type of in power systems also you have studied. So the different types of what do you say turbines employed for hydro generators is the Francis turbine, Kaplan turbine, and you have the Spelton. So basically the generators that are driven by steam turbines are called turbo generators. They run at a very high speed, above 1500 rpm. Whereas the generators driven by hydraulic turbines, these run at a low speed, less than 1000 rpm. And engine driven generators, these are driven by various forms of internal combustion engine with speed less than 1500 rpm. So what happens is that how do you identify? See, if there is a tall guy, his width circumference of his this thing is less. Okay, so he can run fast. So remember, so in a turbo generator, the length of the turbo generator is more. Okay, number of poles are less. Okay, number of poles are less. In a turbo generator, you see number of poles are less. How I will tell you? See, ns is equal to 120 f by p. Synchronous speed is equal to ns is 120 f by p. So 120 into 50 is constant in India. So 120 into 50 will give you 6000 divided by p. If p is less, your synchronous speed is more. Okay. So if p is less, so in remember in turbo generators, number of poles are less. One thing, one important criteria. Another point in turbo generator, we require fast speed, so the length of the pole is more. Length of the pole is more, just like a tall guy, and the diameter of the pole is less, just like a slim guy who's very slim and athletic. So and it can run fast. So similarly, now take an example of an hydro generator. In an hydro generator, what is there? Your synchronous speed you can see is less than 1000 rpm. So in case of the hydro generator, what we can say is that in case of an hydro generator, we can say your number of poles are more. Why number of poles are more? Because your synchronous speed again ns is equal to 120 f by p. So p, if it is greater, that is 6000, so speed gets reduced, and the diameter of the pole is large and the length of the pole is less. So this is basic. Sometimes it can appear in a competitive exam also, this question. Okay, you explain what is this synchronous generator, and the difference between synchronous length and other things. So one more thing, now based upon the construction, this was based upon the type of prime mover. So another thing is the based upon the type of construction. So the most widely used synchronous machine have a stationary armature and rotating this field system. So depending upon this what you say rotor, we can classify them as a silent pole machine or a cylindrical or non-silent pole machine. So again, the silent pole machine, which you are these type of machine have a protruding poles and concentrating winding. So the construction is adapted for a low speed machine, as it becomes very difficult to retain the silent pole arrangement to the large centrifugal forces developed. So this figure here is see. So you can see stator rotor of a silent pole machine. So this is a silent pole machine. This has got a poles that are coming out, coming out. See here also. It's a little bit see protruding. See here, you can see these are coming out. These are coming. This is protruding everywhere. See, basically it's a four pole machine. You have one, two, three, four. So two pair of poles, north and south. This is one pair. This is another pair. So you have protruding poles. So this is used for a low speed machine. Now you have non-silent or cylindrical pole machine. Here the field winding is not concentrated but distributed in several slots which are mild over the rotors as shown in figure 6.3. So this is used for high speed operations. Let's see figure 6. Where is it? Yeah. See, yeah, this is for high speed. Okay, this is for high speed. This is the basically the machine which is utilized in the power system generation of power. If you visit a power plant, so you can see these windings are not concentrated. These are distributed evenly over the surface, and here you can see this is the cylindrical system, cylindrical pole, unlike this protruding pole arrangement. And you can see the machine was also less, and you can see the diameter of the rotor. You can notice this diameter is how it's thicker diameter. Length of the this rotor is how much smaller. But here if you see the length, see the length, and the dia is comparatively low. Dia is comparatively low compared to this diameter. Okay, so one more important thing is that now there are you following this pictorial demonstration?
Yes, sir.
Viramani, are you liking it? Be- Huh? Oh. Viramani? Hello? Thara?
Yes, sir.
Are you hearing?
Yes, sir.
Where is
He's not
others?
there.
Are you? Oh, Viramani is not there today.
Uh,
Okay.
I guess he's there.
So you're
I mean, he was there. I'll
okay.
ask.
Okay. You tell me one thing. Are you following this demonstration? Thara,
Yes,
are you
sir.
following this demonstration?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Carry on. Okay. So okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Switch off your mics. So basically, we have seen we have this now hydro generators. Hydro generators are slow speed generators. So and in hydro generators we noticed we are using silent pole machines running at low speed. So the construction is mainly the type of turbine and water head available for a given frequency. A large number of poles are demanded because I already told your frequency is 120 f by p. If you have low speed, your poles have to be increased, and so this type of machine will have a larger diameter, with diameter as large as 15 meters. It is not just possible to transport the machine as a unit. So therefore, it is designed to be transported to site in sections. So they have to like not you cannot carry it one at a time. So you have to take it by parts and you have to assemble the parts on the site. The machine designed to withstand the stress produced at twice the normal operating as a convention. So basically, what it comprises of the stator core. So the stator core is made up of laminations of low loss silicon steel, usually the CRGO, cold rolled grain oriented. The core is supported by dovetail key bars to the outer cylindrical frame called the yoke. So again, the stator winding. These windings are like I told you, these are three-phase windings, and these are connected in delta Y, are placed inside the slots of laminated multi-turn coils are generally used. And this is the rotor. The salient poles, see, not the salient poles are carried on a rotor body. The type of rotor construction depends on the peripheral speed. So peripheral speed in induction motor also we have studied. So your peripheral speed is given by pi into d into ns. So that is your peripheral speed, pi into d into n. So the rotor poles that are laminated are bolted to the rotor body for low peripheral speed up to 25 meter per second. For higher peripheral speed, dovetail T-shaped rotor is used. See, this for lower peripheral speed, little higher, so a T-shaped is used because it can withstand the centrifugal force. Now let's come to the. This was for the low winding, low speed hydro generators. Okay, different types of this turbine water heads are used. That is obviously the Kaplan and the Francis is very low head compared to your Pelton which is high head. So these type of generators are employed with these type of turbines. Now as far as your cylindrical arrangement is concerned, usually your steam turbines which are like in India also we have in Raichur, in other places in Karnataka and in Tamil Nadu. In Karnataka, we have in Raichur. Yes, we have a steam power plant in Raichur. Maybe other places also, but I remember I visited during my BTech days. So the rotor coils are formed from rectangular section strips of copper or aluminum. Now, one interesting fact is there. See, what is the difference between this induction and the synchronous machine? One difference is obviously we have a DC exciter on the rotor such that the rotor and the stator lock onto each other, and the difference of the slip is cut out and they rotate at a synchronous speed. But how does initially this induction motor get speed and get into the torque position? For that, this damper windings are used. These damper windings, another name is also for that, amortizer winding. These are employed to control oscillations, hunting in the machine. What is hunting? I'll be explaining you. They are copper bars placed through the slots in the pole shoes with end connections attached to the pole end plates. They are also used to provide starting torque. See, they are also used to provide starting torque in the machine. So, what is hunting? What is hunting? Hunting is very important question. They can ask you in an intro. Hunting phenomena basically in a turbine when suddenly power goes at one particular point. So, or a generator is there, three generators are there, and one generator trips, or you some fault happens at one particular place. Because of that, there is a power imbalance. So for to cover that power imbalance, what you have to do is initially your power system tries to oscillate. There would be transients in the power system. So in the synchronous generator is rotating. Okay, this arrangement, this rotor and your this arrangement is rotating. So whenever the power goes, so what happens is that this rotating in has got some kinetic energy. This rotational kinetic energy is supplied for some time to cover that oscillation if it is not large outage. So what happens is that this oscillation is subsidized by this supply of the rotational kinetic energy, such that your frequency becomes at equilibrium, although it will not be at same level. It will be slightly less, but it is accepted. Like in I'll tell you one thing. On when Prime Minister Modi has announced that we have to switch off the lights. Are you
Yes,
hearing?
sir.
So
Yes,
when
sir.
yeah, that Prime Minister Modi told we will switch off the lights. So the power industry, all of a sudden, 9 p.m. It's prime time. Television gone, power gone, everything gone. So some people thought, "Ki all fridge also they have to switch off." Then an advisory came from the government. No, no, no. Only lights you have to switch off. Other loads will be on. Other loads means street lights. Other things will be on. Okay, apartment, other things, street light, other lights and all. They will be on, because why? If all of a sudden we will take off the load, you are generating a power, okay, and that power is meeting some kind of load requirement. If that there is power generation imbalance, whatever you are generating and you are not consuming, or in other terms you are not generating sufficient to your demand. So two things can happen. If you are generating lesser than your demand, so load tripping will happen. Load tripping has to happen. Otherwise, what happens is that your power system frequency dips down. So you have a power frequency range in India. Power frequency range in India is between 49.5 to 50.2 hertz. The lower limit is this, the upper limit is that. So to cover this operation, what our power people did in the power ministry, they operated at a lower grid code on that day, on the for that particular time, that nearing 49.5 or 49.6. Why? Because all of a sudden when you switch off the power, for example, you are riding a horse. In the horse is riding with a speed of 25 kilometers per hour. You are three people, one you are two, you have two people out on the horse, like on a tanga. So you have 100 kgs of weight. All of a sudden what you do is that you remove from 100, you remove 75 kgs, so only 25 kgs is there. So the tanga speed will increase like anything, and then all of a sudden you put back that 100 kgs at a time. So now the speed will not reduce. Now there is a chance of breakage of the horse itself. The power system loses synchronism, loses the oscillations. For that purpose, what we have to do is that we, in a gradual steps, we have to increase or decrease, because our frequency range, it should not go beyond the frequency range of 50.2 hertz, and it should not go below or beneath the range of 49.6 hertz. So this phenomenon of hunting is overcome by employing these damper windings, and these damper windings produce torque, suppose, and this torque is absorbed whenever there's a frequency, some power outage. This torque is replaced to meet that outage for some time, like for 5 minutes or 2 minutes. And if that outage is very less and it is meeting it, your synchronous machine motor will run at a lower frequency that is within the acceptable range of 49.5 to 50.2, and your grid will run properly without any load shedding. If even though you have supplied this rotational kinetic energy also, and it is not meeting the demand, then of course you have to go for load shedding. Load shedding means you have to take out the light. If you are not taking out the load shedding, if you are not doing, it will impact your grid. Sometimes you must have wondered, like Bescom is taking 1 hour light, or sometimes 1 day light they are not giving to one particular area. Like that they are doing, because to show that your grid is in a healthy state, not that they are liking you don't have power or something like that. It's not. It's electrical concepts are there. Okay. So now construction of this turbo alternator. See, basically a 50 hertz turbo alternator is essentially a two pole machine. So I told you that the number of poles employed here would be less. So it is a two pole machine, and the diameter of the rotor is limited to 1.2 meters. There you saw 15 meters diameter. In case of an hydro alternator, here you are seeing only 1.2 meter, because the reasons which I have told you in the very beginning. So this machine has higher efficiency at higher speed. So to increase the rating, the axial length is more. Electrical loading and magnetic loading of this machine, you can take it to a very high, exceptionally high rating. And this what when it ideal rating becomes exceptionally high, what you can do is that this will increase the temperature of the machine. So the cooling mechanism is needed, like hydrogen cooling or direct volume cooling needs to be adopted. So this was about the rotor thing. Now this is about the stator and the core. So the stator core is built up of segmental, one segment, another segment. See here, 1, 2, 3. Are you seeing in the tunnel inside? See here, 1, 2, 3. So segmental laminations. The slot mounters and dovetail keyholes are punched together, and stator winding three phase. See, what we are utilizing is in the stator, we are utilizing is three phase double layer and short pitch coils are used and are placed in the slots on the stator core. So double layer it is used. So till now I think you must have studied single layer winding, double layer winding, in your CADM class.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
have studied single layer, double. Yeah, short
Yes, sir.
pitch. Now you must have studied. So this is the stator winding is three phase double. Yeah, switch off your mic. So this is three phase double layer and short pitched coils are used and are placed in the slots in the stator core. Now the rotor. So the rotor is basically cylindrical in structure, made of solid forgings of alloy steel. So this is milled from the slots. Normally, about 2/3 of the surface is slotted, and the main. I'll give you a better picture than this when I'm uploading my PDF. Something happened here. Concentric multi-turn coils are used. Now, figure 6 shows the rotor assembly, and this 6.6 figure. See here, we are seeing this rotor assembly here, this B, and you have this figure 6.A, and they're showing stator and the rotor. So this is your stator. This is your this picture is of stator. The other picture is of rotor. So one important thing regarding the synchronous generator is that, see, what is the basic function of a synchronous generator is, in a synchronous generator what happens is that you have a DC current. Yeah, a DC current is applied to the rotor winding. So this DC current is applied to the rotor winding. Okay, I'll go back to the picture so that you can visualize when I'm talking now, so you can understand. Yeah, this is so. So here rotor is there. Here on the rotor, this brushless system. Okay, we'll go here. See here, this is my rotor. Okay, this is the complete arrangement rotor. These are the number of poles over there. This is a brushless DC exciter. So this is the exciter. Okay, so you, where is the see here rotor poles are there. This is this is the rotor winding. So to the this rotor winding, you can see a connection is going to the exciter. So in synchronous generator, what happens is that the DC current is applied to the rotor winding, so which produces a rotor magnetic field. Because of this DC current, a rotor magnetic field is produced. The rotor of the generator is then turned by the prime mover. So the rotor of the generator. So the rotor of the generator means this rotor. Okay, this rotor of the generator, or here you can see it is a small machine. See here, this rotor of the generator, or see this. What happens is that synchronous generator, if we are talking, we cannot give electrical supply. Why? We need to give mechanical supply because it's a generator. If we are giving mechanical supply, because our input is mechanical, output is electrical. So basically in a synchronous generator, rotor is firstly excited by what? It is excited by, tell me, Thara, Unnati, Vinuta. Rotor is excited by what? This rotor is there. It is excited by the brushless DC exciter in the beginning. The rotor is excited by the brushless DC exciter in the beginning. Okay. So in synchronous generator, DC current is applied to the rotor winding, which produces a rotor magnetic field. The rotor of the generator is then turned by the prime mover. Okay. So this is turned by the prime mover, producing a rotating magnetic field within the machine. So this produces a rotating magnetic field within the machine. This rotating magnetic field induces a three-phase set of voltages. So this because of this rotating prime mover is making it rotate, and you have this DC. So you have a magnetic field in the rotor, and then you have a magnetic field getting generated because of the prime mover. So the rotor of the generator is then turned by the prime mover, producing a rotating magnetic field within the machine. This rotating magnet induces a three-phase set of voltages. So this magnetic field is inducing a three-phase set of voltages inside the stator windings. Now stator windings, or these field windings. So main magnetic field in a machine, and the term armature windings applies to the windings. Okay, now the rotor of a synchronous generator is essentially a large electromagnet. How it became a large electromagnet? Because of the DC brushless DC exciter, it became a large electromagnet. Okay, and now it is also rotating. Now when it is rotating with the help of the prime mover at a particular speed, so it is exciting in turn power magnetic field in the stator. So now there is a magnetic field in the stator, there is magnetic field in the rotor. So the magnetic field in the rotor is also due to the brushless DC exciter supply, and also due to the rotation of the shaft of the rotor. So the rotor of the synchronous generator is now what happens is that in non-silent pole, rotors are normally used for two. See, no, that is okay. Poles and other things. Normal non-silent means cylindrical, only two pole. That is for turbo generators. Now what happens that supply this DC power from an external source to the by means of slip rings and brushes we are supplying. So what happens is that this catches some speed. This catches some speed. Stator has some speed. So when sufficiently rotor is getting energized, what we is that stator is also getting energized. So there is some relative motion, and we suddenly cut off this DC exciter, and this stator magnetic field and rotor magnetic field lock onto each other, and the machine operates with a synchronous speed. So there is a synchronous speed only. Like for example, you have 1500 rpm, so always a synchronous generator will operate at 1500 rpm. So there would be this because of this mechanical motion, there is a rotor becoming electromagnetic. It is establishing your magnetic field here in the stator winding. From the stator winding, what is happening? Because of this field, you are getting electricity, and this electricity from here you are transporting it. This electricity you are transporting via transformer. So this is the basic operation of a synchronous generator. Now let's suppose synchronous motor. In case of motor, what you will do is that you are giving supply. So in that case, you will give this mechanical. There is no turbine over here. So you have a DC brushless exciter. So your rotor is becoming electromagnet, and it is starting with the help of the amortizer winding. It will start starting torque. It will get, but then there is a stator also. You have to give supply in case of a synchronous motor. Once you are giving supply to the stator, so stator also becomes an electromagnet, and then you suddenly cut off this, and rotor and the stator speed lock onto each other, and again the motor will operate at synchronous speed. It will not operate at some speed less because of the slip, because there is no concept of slip in case of this what do you say, in case of an synchronous machine. Now as far as our other things are concerned, like output equation of an this synchronous machine, it is same as the case of an induction motor. Same, there is no difference. The output is same as that of a three-phase induction machine. So we have already derived it, so no need. Briefly I will tell you. If you want to see that output equation, that I have also put in YouTube, or so available in the Google Classroom also, you can see those videos. So here I'll briefly explain the kVA rating. You already know for a three-phase machine is 3 V phase I phase in 10 power minus 3. And here since V phase you can write as E phase also, so you have this 3 E phase I phase in 10 power minus 3. E phase, obviously you have 4.44 kW is what? kW is winding space factor, phi m is your maximum flux, F is your frequency, T phase is your number of turns. So this is for a single phase system. For a three-phase system, you can write Q is equal to 3 times your E phase, that is your 3 times E phase I phase. So 3 into 4.44, this term you will get. So again you have this taking a pair of poles and the total number of poles. This F by P is equal to NS. We get here, instead of F you can write P NS by 2. See, this is 2F by P. Here some mistake. Okay, Q is equal to, okay, so you can substitute back into this equation. You have this flux equation. Now you can substitute this flux in for P phi m. You can write BAB. Similarly for AC you can write this equation, and this is the specific magnetic loading, which is defined as the average over the total surface of air gap, can be expressed as, see this. Similarly your electrical loading you have already done. Remember, Thara? Hello?
Sir?
We have already done this derivation. Okay, that's why I'm
Yes,
going
sir.
through it. We have already look to that also. You have the specific electrical loading, which is defined as the number of ampere conductors or the of air gap surface, can be expressed as this, and we substitute these equations back and we arrive at this. See, basically I told you earlier also, 1.11 into pi square, it can be approximated near to 11. If you multiply 1.11 into pi square, you will get around 10.96, or some books so they are approximating it up to 11, and they are writing this Q is equal to C naught D square LNS. So C naught value you have again 11 kW BAV AC in 10 power minus 3. So this for today's class, I think this is enough. So what about see, I want to play some quiz with you. I have downloaded application called Kahoot. Okay, I'll arrange a quiz for you. So in tomorrow's class, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you have a class. Come prepared.
Yes.
And those of you, I will give some objective questions some at the end, last 15 minutes. And those of you who will give the answers, my results will come to me, and that only I will mark because it will be a live test. Okay.
Yes, sir. Attendance, sir.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Sir, attendance, sir.
Govinda, Hari Govinda. Sir, Re Govinda.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಹಲೋ ಟಿಕಾ ಮುಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ ಲೇ ಟಿಕಾ ಮುಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ ಅವ್ನಿಗೆ ಅಟೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್
Hey, recording has not been stopped.
Bro, please.
ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್
ಏನ್ ಬ್ರೋ ಯಾಕೆ ಬ್ರೋ?
ಲೇ ಟಿಕಾ ಮುಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ HOD పంపిస్తాను భయపడి రే అటెండెన్స్ చేయరా సమయ బెర్నా